It was under your control since the beginning of the turn, so they actually kind of have pseudo haste. He's playing against Steven Wu, who's playing Death and Taxes. It is not mono white though. It's not a forcible deck, which is good for Chris, but it is also he's playing black for Dark Confidant, and he does have 4 Thoughtseize in his deck, so he has some play here.
Though a little more susceptible to Leyline of Sanctity as a result.
Yeah, I mean, Chris, he does have 4 Leyline of Sanctity. He has a lot of different Leylines actually. Some of them even do something.
Yeah, the list here is 3 copies of Leyline of the Meek, clearly the weakest of the Leylines. 4 Anticipation, 4 Life Force, 4 Sanctity, 4 Void, 4 Vitality, 4 Punishment.
All right, so Chris is going to start out by Serum Powdering right now, which if you weren't aware, basically when someone's playing a card like Serum Powder, that generally means their deck is highly unstable and up to no good.
Yeah, no one's ever put this into their creatures and removal spell deck. This is just for
really degenerate decks. So his first hand did not have the combo, so he's going to go ahead and Serum Powder. Remember, he basically needs Serra Sanctum in his opener. He plays 4 Crop Rotation to try to increase that, but really 8's not enough, which is why he plays the Serum Powders.
A good analog here might be, Vintage Dredge. You have Bizarre Baghdad in that deck. That's everything. That's your whole deck.
That's your whole deck,
You're willing to dig pretty hard for it. Serra Sanctum plays that role a little bit in this sort of strategy.
Do see 2 Serra Sanctums in his hand, so this one is probably going to be a keeper. Steven's on 6 cards, chose to keep. All right, so we're going to start Steven, who starts the game with Leyline of Sanctity, Leyline of the Void, and Leyline of Punishment. So, not going to get Thoughtseize this game.
Hold on. Are you ready to take your first one? Stop. I have some
effects.
I have effects.
So, as I think, because he has the Leyline of Sanctity, I believe Steven has no interaction with what's happening here.
Well, let's go to the tape. Yeah, this looks rough.
I mean, I don't know if he has the Opalescence yet. Steven starts on Scrubland and passes. 3rd Serra Sanctum was the draw for Chris Wolfmeyer. So, all right, he's going to go ahead and make triple white and cast Serum Powder. All right, that's a mana ramp spell. So now he has 4 mana available.
Well, he can go beatdowns with he can cast his Opalescence next turn. Even if something were to happen to the Serra Sanctum, because now he has the 4th mana and another Sanctum in his hand.
Yeah, all right.
So even if it gets Wasteland reported, he's good to go.
All right, Wasteland from Steven Wu.
You better kill that Sanctum. I know you don't know necessarily what your opponent's up to, but you better kill that Serra Sanctum.
Whatever he's up to, this Sanctum seems important to his draw. So he has it looks like 2 Mana Confluences and 2 Serra Sanctums, so I don't think he has anything going on yet. For the record, he does have a secondary kill here. He does play 4 Enlightened Tutors, and he has a Helm of Obedience in his deck, and one of his starting lines was Leyline of the Void, so there's a plan B option here to also win.
Yeah. A diverse and robust deck.
So he has
if there ever was one.
So he has 9. It looks like I would say he has 9 different cards he could play or draw here. But Death and Tax is doing its thing. He has Rishid Import and now Thalia. So Chris has some work to do. And Enlightened Tutor was the draw. That's a pretty big draw for him.
Good backup plan here.
He can play a 2nd land. He can go ahead and play. It looks like he's gonna play Serra Sanctum. And right away, he can probably Enlighten Tutor. I imagine he'll go for the Helm of Obedience kill, actually.
Yeah, I think he's contemplating now whether or not he wants to main phase the Enlightened Tutor and let the cat out of the bag, or wait and risk even Mind Sensor or some other piece of disruption coming out of Steven's deck.
All right, so he taps that for 3 white. He's going to go ahead and Enlighten Tutor, floating a white. Remember, next turn, he still, despite Thalia, I think we'll have enough mana left to cast
He's got
the Helm, but he won't have enough to activate it.
I think he's got another Sanctum in his hand. I think he's good to go
next
turn.
He'll get ported. He'll get ported off.
Assuming he gets ported, sure.
Then so he's going to go ahead and main phase Enlightened Tutor here. He looks at both Opalescence and Helm of Obedience. He's going to go for the Helm kill. So Helm is 4 to cast, and he needs, you cannot activate it for 0 and win, but once you activate it for 1, you do win.
Yeah.
So this is actually a combo that some other decks in Legacy have played. Helm, usually it's with Rest in Peace, not Leyline of the Void.
Now I would imagine here, Chris can afford to play a little bit slow. If Steven's play next turn is just attack you and port you, he can power through that pretty easily. So.
You can just play a Mana Confluence, say go, then play another Serra Sanctum. Right? Steven now realizes he's going to have to port the Serra Sanctum or lose. So it's possible that that's Steven's only line. We'll see what can Steven Wu do here. He has a fetch land, Verdant Catacombs. That's not going to do very much. Remember, he may have Thoughtseize effects, but the Leyline of Sanctity, incidentally, being pretty good right now.
Sorry, Steven, you've just shown up with the wrong tools for this fight. Nothing wrong with your deck, but
He has some tools. I mean, but just not too many, right? Upkeep is going to port the Sanctum. There's now only 2 mana available for Chris. If he plays his land, he'll have 5. It takes a full 5 to cast Helm. So he could cast it this turn and not activate it, or he could just play a Mana Confluence and then next turn have 1 additional mana so that he can play and activate all at once.
it feels like a risky card to put into play because, you know, Steven Wu's deck has the looks of something that would have something like Vindicate or something, and you're protected from discard because of Leyline of Sanctity.
Yep, your hand's pretty safe, I would say. And it looks like he's gonna make that play. Plays Mana Confluence and says go. So he's gonna wait until he can play and activate it all in one swoop.
Yeah, no reason to rush. You know, if Steven's just attacking you for 2 and porting you, you know you can beat that, but putting the helmet into play seems like a risk not worth taking.
Now, looking at this board state, would you say that Leylines is a deck that really got a buff from the new Legend rule?
It did get helped out.
I mean, if those things, if under the old Legend rule, probably just this deck just doesn't function.
We do get a hung up on Elves and Cradle, and part of that is because Elves wins tournaments. But this deck also got a shot in the arm.
Oh, and he just draws the Opalescence. Wow.
I would not be able to pass up the opportunity to go beat downs with my ley lines. Yes, it's easier to just win the game, but
It's pretty cool to beat up with the Leylines.
yeah.
He might path them though, or might swords them if he does that. You don't.
Yeah.
I think you've got to just play the win. Just play the
No,
helm.
I know.
Sarah Sanctum is going to get rid of the last one. So this should be good enough. It takes 5 to cast that helm.
He's
1,
got this,
2, 3, 4.
He's got the Serum Powder for mana.
Yep.
Doing double duty this match. Free mulligan plus a little Dark Seal ingot action.
Yep. 5. And that should be enough. All right. And it's going to be helm. And he can activate it for 1, and that should do it. Activates helm for 1, targeting Steven Wu. So that should mill Steven's entire deck.
Yeah.
If you aren't aware of this combo, Helm mills until it hits a creature or it puts X cards in the graveyard, but because cards don't go to the graveyard, it just keeps trying and it mills Steven's entire deck.
Yeah. So this is a 2-card kill. Usually you see it with Rest in Peace, but Leyline of the Void works just as well.
I think at this point they're explaining, yep, and Steven will concede. So game 1 goes to Chris Wolfmeyer and Leylines.
Okay, time to go to the sideboard, I guess.
All right, well, talking about sideboarding matchups to this, when you're playing a deck as extreme as Leylines, you have to look at your board and say, does anything in my board do anything? And fortunately for Steven Wu, the answer is actually yes. He has some things that function. He has 3 more Duresses.
Okay. Well, that is definitely improvement over other stuff that's got going on, although it's worth noting, you know, you're playing against Leyline of Sanctity, so there's no guarantee your discard is going to be functional in the matchup. The rest of his sideboard really doesn't offer him any help.
Well, he does have a 1 of Meekstone. In the situation that Chris went for an Opalescence kill and didn't have 20 power worth of Leylines in play, Meekstone would actually be a pretty good weapon here. All the Leylines would never untap.
It's probably worth bringing in because you can chump block out of the 1 turn, and then maybe, or he has to get 5 Leylines in play.
That actually seems really good. You can
yeah.
have enough. I think Meekstone seems pretty solid against the Opalescence kill.
Yeah, I buy it. Seems good enough. On the other side, Chris, with an Oblivion Ring, 2 Banishing Lights, a Curse of Exhaustion, a Rune Halo, a Ghostly Prison. Oh boy. A Suppression Field, a Rest in Peace, 2 Replenish, a Stony Silence, and a Chancellor of the Annex.
4 Chancellor of the Annex.
Yeah, 4 copies. I assume that's for Force of Will / other counterspell
blue
type
decks.
of matchups. Yep. So I think the Ghostly Prison is pretty easy to bring in, and I would just bring in the Oblivion Ring and the Banishing Lights as catch-alls as well.
I like that. He has 3 Suppression Field main deck. I wouldn't be surprised to see the 4th one, especially because Steven Wu's main form of disruption is Wasteland and Rishadan Port. I feel like Suppression Field would be pretty good against those effects. They would really, Steven can't actually afford to port Chris.
Sure.
If it costs 4 mana to do it.
Yeah, so the question then is, like, what are your flex slots? Do you just cut some of your ley lines?
Well, that's an interesting question. How many of the Leylines can you cut in this deck?
I have no idea. I care not to speculate. Maybe 3 of them are flex slots. Maybe you can go down to 24. I imagine there has to be some wiggle room here because the rest of the deck is just pure engine. I mean, you have your 4 copies of Opalescence, can't touch that. You have your Helm of Obedience, probably can't touch that. You need your crop rotations to get Sarah Sanctum.
You need all your Sarah Sanctums. And I don't think you can touch the Serum Powders either.
Yeah, Enlightened Tutor, Idyllic Tutor, these seem like they're all priced into keeping in. I guess Suppression Field is a flex slot here to some extent, but you're already talking about wanting to bring in the 4th copy. So I think that just some of the ley lines have to go.
So I'm going to go, what exactly are these ley lines and what do they all do? So I had to look some of this up because I don't actually remember what all of them do. Leyline of the Meek pumps creature tokens. Leyline of Anticipation gives all your spells flash. Leyline of Life Force makes your creatures uncounterable. He actually said when he boards in against Forcible decks and he boards in Chancellor of the Annex, that's actually relevant because he plans to cast them off Sarah's Sanctums.
Nice.
Okay, so it does something. Leyline of Sanctity and Leyline of the Void, well, those are the premium ones. Those actually do something that's a thing.
Those are the ley lines with real text. Those are the superstars of the deck.
Leyline of Vitality is a Soul Warden plus giving your creatures +0/+1.
Yep.
I don't really think that one does too
Can
much.
no longer overload Mizium Mortars to get rid of all of his enchantments.
And Leyline of Punishment prevents prevention effects.
And life gain.
And life gain. Which, that one doesn't seem like too much either.
No.
Unless you're playing against like a Turbo Fog deck. Leylines probably would have trouble with a Turbo Fog deck. Well, except if it has these 4 Leyline of Punishment.
I'm sure it comes up in some matchups. I'm sure it's worth more than, I'm sure it's a greater than 0 sort of thing.
Which Leylines he's not playing might be the better question. He's not playing Leyline of Singularity. That's one that makes all permanents legendary. He said it's actively bad in his deck.
Right, because he just wants to be able to dump any ley lines onto the table.
Right. He's not playing that. He's not playing, was it Leyline of, one of the red Leylines. Original red Leyline. I don't remember what that one's called. Leyline of Lightning, Leyline, it's really bad. I mean, as opposed to these all-stars that he's playing. That, the original red one's less good,
If you don't make the cut in this sort of deck, then I don't know what to tell you. I mean.
So we look at Steven's hand. Steven has, it looks like a triple duress, like a duress Thoughtseize, dress Thoughtseize hand. So at that point, if I'm Steven thinking, boy, well, does he have a white Leyline? Because this hand's a mull to 4 if he has one.
But it's not like you can mull to much else, These are the only forms of disruption he has. He has to accept that he's going to lose to the Leyline, I think.
There is a Serum Powder in Wolfmeyer's hand. He has a lot of Leylines. Yep, he's going to Serum Powder away his hand. This hand wasn't bad, actually. It had 3 Leylines, a Crop Rotation, a Mana Confluence.
The big issue with this mulligan is it's the only copy of Helm in the deck. So now he has to win through attacking.
Yeah, I'm interested that he mulled that one, and I don't really know enough about the deck to say one way or the other. He has another Serum Powder hand he could do, and this one's no good too. He had one of his Opalescences, but he had no land. So we're gonna try again.
But he has burned through 14 cards here without revealing a Sanctum, so that's good. He's got a lot of shots at it.
I think he's got a lot. I feel like a lot of I wonder what percent of the time, I'd need to model this one. Like what percent of the time, if he strictly Serum Powders to Serum Sanctum, what percent of the time does he get it?
I mean, once you factor in also legitimate mulligans he can take,
yeah,
he can go pretty deep.
All right, third stage, 21 cards. He's now playing a 39-card library.
I imagine this is what Richard Garfield had in mind when he invented Magic. This is pretty close.
This is by the way, this is why you don't let people, originally when you could take mulligan, no land mulligans and get a free no land mulligan, this is why they stopped letting people do stuff like that. Because you can do abusive things when you get free no land mulligans. And his hand is great. Once again, he starts out with 4 Leylines in play, and Leyline of Sanctity is among them. That shuts Steven's on a mull to 4. Chris does have the Sarah Sanctum, and he does have an Enlightened Tutor in hand. So Chris he's setting up for, for the Opalescence beatdown real quick here.
I think he might have.
I think he has Mana Confluence.
He does have a Sanctum.
Sarah Sanctum and Enlightened Tutor. I think he has the whole package. Yeah, Enlightened Tutor. He drew an Enlightened Tutor there, actually. So yeah, he's going to get to kill real fast here. Mana Confluence is the land for the turn. Just going to go ahead and Pain for Enlightened Tutor here. I have to think it's getting Opalescence.
Now, I like this play again. He doesn't want to get himself in a position where he has to worry about Aven Mind Sensor, and Steven could potentially next turn play a fetch land and pass. So I like the preemptive use of Enlightened Tutor
Chris,
here.
quite the wily Leylines pilot.
This is not his first rodeo.
Now, to be fair, there are no Aven Mind Sensors in Steven's deck. That's because he's doing this Black Splash.
Yeah,
but we don't know that,
It has
right?
the look of something that could easily have Aven Mind
So this is
Sensor.
why I like playing combo decks, is because when you're playing Chris, there's about, 4 cards you have to think of at all. Okay, when you're talking about what the game looks like for him, it's he could play Aven Mind Sensor. Better play around that. Okay,
yeah,
go.
The unfortunate thing is one of the cards he has to worry about in the format is Force of Will, and that card's
just beats your deck. It's
pretty
fine.
popular.
Yeah, but this guy's not playing it.
Yeah.
Success. So Stephen Wu he read Opalescence, and now he realizes what else this deck does. I have to imagine Steven hasn't played against this before.
Yeah, and the last card in Chris's hand is Replenish. So even if something
Even
if something goes wrong.
Wait. Oh yeah. Yep. Okay. Sure. Even if Steven, for some reason, plays does White even have yeah, it plays like Tempest of Light. There we go. Right. Clean Fall. These are like, there's some white tranquility effects.
Well, Chris can reasonably assume that even just getting back Opalescence is good enough in a lot of spots. If Steven has anything disruption-wise, you could imagine him having some sort of Seal of Cleansing in the sideboard, a Vindicate, something along those lines to just kill the Opalescence, even if he's not hitting you with a tranquility effect.
Steven's I like how Chris is protecting his Serra Sanctums here. So he gets his Mana Confluence ported, Serra Sanctum, and he's going to tap that. That's Opalescence is, costs 4, so that's just enough mana.
I've used the term Motley Crew a lot to describe a set of attackers. This is the motleyest crew I've ever seen in my life.
Swing for 16, your go. Steven drops to 4. What did you get attacked by? Well, there's like a blue, a red, a white, and a green 4/4 thing.
What happened to your last round? I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk. And there we have it, 2-0. Chris Wolfmeyer with Leylines still alive, 4 wins out of the top 8.
All right, well, 3-1-1, still
in top 8 contention.
Could potentially make for a very quick elimination round if things break the right way for him. I would imagine, I don't know for certain, I would hazard a guess that we are going to have a deck tech with him. Don't know for sure, but I would guess.
So there are some decks you can say that win and lose based on their matchups. And, this falls into that camp for me.
Yeah, for example, I'm a big Burn fan. I'm never beating this thing in a million years.
Oh, God, no.
4 Serum Powders and 4 Leyline of Sanctity? Forget about it. There's just no chance I have to beat this thing.
No, absolutely not.
And a deck like Death and Taxes, they're not going to have a lot of interaction, if any at all, that matters in the 75. And Steven's draws were not bad. He had discard spells and a port. In theory, some of his best cards, but they were just not relevant enough.
Oh, no. This is... Well, there you go. All right.
There you go.
And I like that he was talking to, so I got a chance, I said to talk to him about the deck. He's like, well, first thing he says, I have a plan for it, so just 4 Chancellor of the Annex. So I'm like, all right.